You know, I'll be honest. Right now, I'm just really hoping that what I saw yesterday wasn't a hoax, and we're supposed to be getting like really, really warm weather this weekend, like 88 degrees, 90 degrees on Sunday. So I'm just holding out hope that it really is true, because after last weekend when I was up at Cuca Lake, I really need a good one. And I think it's going to happen. But, keep your fingers crossed. So, my low, my high, my act of kindness. Well, honestly, I would say that my low right now is, for whatever reason, my internet just doesn't want to work right now. Like, seriously, I've been trying to look up, like, some information that I may or may not decide to talk about. And, the connection keeps getting interrupted. It's just so all over the place. So, yeah, I can't really, for whatever reason, my internet's being bad. My high, though, yesterday was, actually, my high and my act of kindness involved talking to my dad, because, it's my dad. I love talking to my dad. So that was a high. And he actually called me for help with something, and I was able to help him over the phone. So, yeah, it was a pretty all right day. Just listening to, stuff going on and everything. But with that said, we do have a Hot Ones episode today, don't we? Oh, we had one yesterday I could talk about today. So, good morning and happy Friday, everyone. So, Chimera Usman, I have to say, first of all, here's the thing. I am sort of a UFC fan. I talked about this just a couple days ago. But I'm in no way, shape, or form like an expert or like, that's sort of like, I do like a deep dive into, some of my favorite fighters, backstories. But that's okay, because if they're ever on Hot Ones, they pretty much do it for me. So I actually got to learn a lot about Chimera Usman, outside of the fact that, yes, currently he is the reigning welterweight champion of the world. In UFC, that is. But I also learned some really good stuff, like the sort of talking about the sweet spot when he was comparing stuff like, jiu-jitsu and wrestling, and how they thought they're similar, because he has a wrestling background, which, I can relate. I wrestled in high school too. I mean, admittedly, I didn't really get into it, and therefore really wasn't as good until it was far too late for me to do anything about it. But, I still have memories, and, it helped build character, so there's that. It sort of helped give me a competitive edge. So I really like that. He talked a little bit about, because he was born in Nigeria. So he talked a little bit about their food, and if it's really as hot as, people say it is. Although it was funny, in the beginning of the episode, he says that I can handle hot food, but I've been on a diet for literally 6 years. So my heat resistance is probably not as good, which, give him props for being honest. If we're being fair, I used to be really big in hot sauce, but even I have my limits now. That reminds me, I still have an entire bottle of sriracha in the refrigerator I haven't even opened yet. I mean, I can open it anytime I want to, and it's my bottle of sriracha that I got, so, yeah, man, I really still haven't opened it yet. I can't believe I haven't opened it yet. Maybe I'll open it up eventually. I mean, there's plenty of things you use sriracha for. You can use it for eggs. Maybe, you can use it for other things. Right, talking about hot ones. What else did he talk about? I guess he also talked about how, and this is actually something that kind of fascinated me a little bit, because as some of you guys know, more and more YouTube stars, particularly, like Logan Paul, are like getting into like live pay-per-view sort of boxing matches, right? And actually, there's supposed to be a really big fight coming up. I think maybe this weekend between Logan Paul and undefeated boxing champion Floyd Mayweather. Although, to be perfectly honest, he fought, Manny Pacquiao on a handicap. So, take that what you will. I was always a fan of Manny Pacquiao. I like Manny. Manny was cool. I like Manny Pacquiao. Anyway, he's talking about how, it's a question that Sean asked. And he asked about, how do you feel that sort of thing is for combative sports? Like, people who, by all accounts, technically have no right to be in a boxing ring with someone like Floyd Mayweather, like Logan Paul, for instance, or YouTube creators doing these live pay-per-views type things. Like, how do you feel that is for the sport of, combative sports, MMA, boxing, all those things? And I really liked his answer, Kamaru Usman's answer, by the way, where he said, while I don't really agree with it myself, in the end, it really is promoting the sport. It's getting more and more people interested and involved in it, which is true. I mean, don't get me wrong, I always had a sort of slight interest in it myself, but not to the point where I would actively want to watch these things play out. Especially when you consider the fact, Saturday nights when they have, these big boxing matches and stuff, we have to wait till midnight Eastern time, which I am Eastern time, before we get to the main event. I'm like, I just can't do that. Don't get me wrong, I get to sleep in on Sundays, but, sometimes I'd rather not do that. Especially when the world starts getting back out of place. I'd like to go back to church a little bit more. I'll probably have to go every Sunday to make up for every time I missed church throughout the entirety of the pandemic. I'm going to be busy for a little while now, won't I? What else did they talk about? I mean, I'm going to be putting a link to the episode in the description down below, so you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. But all in all, it's one of the main strengths about Hot Ones that really appeals to me is it took someone that I technically really had no idea who they were, and I actually got to learn a lot more about them. And no, it wasn't with extreme explicit detail. Not to mention, like most people, as soon as he got to the bomb, he really kind of struggled, but he did it. Although, honestly, if I had one, actually I wouldn't even call it a pet peeve either, but basically Kamaru Usman talked about the proper way to eat a flat wing, which, for full disclosure, I know how to eat a flat wing. In fact, the way he described is exactly how I learned it years and years and years ago. From Chef John, from foodwishes.com. Seriously, Chef John actually has an episode on how to properly eat a chicken wing. It's super old. I'm pretty sure it was before 2010. That's how long ago it was. I guess that sort of puts Chef John in a sort of pseudo contender for person I've watched on YouTube the most. I mean, I guess technically I saw Charlie Conway first. But Chef John, I saw that one video of how to eat a chicken wing, and honestly didn't really watch him again until, he came with, a perfect mac salad video several years later, which my late aunt made, the best mac salad. I never really ate it because I wasn't a fan of mac salad, but from what everyone in my family told me, my aunt made the best mac salad. So, obviously, back when she was alive, I showed the mac salad video from Food Wishes to her. She actually learned a few neat things. she never put cayenne in hers, and Chef John is known for cayenne, so there you go. Speaking of cayenne, I was just talking about hot ones, wasn't I? Yeah, I don't know. It was a really great episode. I enjoyed it. It really is nice to see, more UFC fighters, be they retired or current, talk about the sport that they love to do. And a part of me is, sometimes I wonder, because we've had football players we've had football players and basketball players on Hot Ones before. I mean, in the realm of, basketball players, you have Joel Embiid, Jimmy Butler, Blake Griffin, Kevin Durant was on once. Kevin Love. There's actually quite a few Kevins playing in the NFL. Or in the NBA. Stupid me. How can I forget that? How can I mess that part up? Seriously. So that's always really interesting. And for the NFL, we had players like Travis Kelce, Von Miller, Gronk was on once. But really, well, if we're talking former also, Shaq was on there. That was actually a pretty famous episode too in its own right. So, yeah, I love seeing athletes talk about the sport they love because I always learn something new. Not just about the sport, but about them personally. And I like that. And it also doesn't really help that you have like 100 million Scoville units coursing through one's veins to let down their guard a little bit. But yeah, all in all, this was a very good episode. No problems or complaints here. I totally watched. Well, I say I'd watch it again, but I wanted to never. But I would watch it again. Like really, any episode of Hot Ones, I would watch again if I wanted to. Some I've easily watched more than once, just simply because of the significance of it all. Like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Guy Fieri, Terry Crews, obviously. I had to have done Gordon Ramsay, Bert Kreischer. So I definitely have my share of, more than one of the same episode of Hot Ones being watched. So, yeah. Man, it just sort of, it boggles the, because here's the thing, this season, I'm just going to try and pay attention to how many guests we have before we get to the season finale. Because I get the feeling we're going to have a lot more guests considering, they're allowed in the studio again. Just simply because, people are getting vaccinated and stuff, which is probably what you should do as well. Not trying to force you to do it, I'm just saying, you probably, should. Here's the thing, I did, but that's because it was either that or I never see my nephews again for fear of them getting sick, which, yeah, I made a good call. Even though I haven't really seen my nephews in a good while. I'd say, well, actually, I did see my nephews over FaceTime yesterday. My mom called my dad. I happened to be right by, and, I leaned over and put my head up, in the air of the phone, hi, boys, your Uncle Nick loves you, stuff like that. So, I did see them yesterday, but both my nephews and I were not physically in person seeing each other, if that makes sense. So, yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I've been up super duper early trying to clean up my apartment before I wind up going. Because I'm heading up to Cuba Lake tonight, and pretty much as soon as I leave here, I can never come back. So I am making super sure that, everything I want to bring with me is with me, because you never know. Anyway, that's maybe all I have right now. Give myself some breeze this afternoon. It's going to be great. And, yeah. Not much else to say other than get ready for, hopefully, a very nice weekend. Like, favorite, share, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on social platforms, on YouTube, I am very humbly with you for you guys watching. Enjoy for them. Hopefully, a wonderful, wonderful Friday. And remember, if you guys want to talk to channels, we can hit 11 year olds. They're back. Take care and make good choices. See ya.